Hello, everyone. This is Linkamus Prime, and this is gonna be an interesting little announcement because, you know how I came out with the Prime's season 2 prologue? How do I say this? Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. um, so we had to make the unfortunate decision to cancel the SCU. But not exactly. When I say cancel, I mean we canceled the old SCU. That's right, guys. The Sentient Cinematic Universe has been rebooted. Why, you may ask? Well, here's the thing. A few issues. Well, to start off with, let me go back, at least a year. So, about over a year ago, we were still friends with Spinozillasaurian, a very popular YouTuber who, didn't really have a lot of controversies at the time. Well, and that has changed as of recently, with some videos that have been basically put out there about some things that he's done, and I'm not really going to get into all of that, but it will be important for further context into this video. So, basically, I went to Spinozilla about an idea, and this was during the production of his 10th and final episode of his series, The Godzillas. So I went to him and I said, "Hey, Spino, I have an idea for a series, and it could be shared universe, but I want to make a series called The Primes." And he was like, "Okay, we can do that." So I made my series, The Primes, and then two of my other friends came along, that being Indonum Dalian and Morrow Hell, and then they had their ideas for their own series. Morrow would produce a series called The Avas, and Indonum Dalian would produce his series called The Saurians. And, well, that's basically when our little cinematic universe was born. Morrow gave it the name Sentient Cinematic Universe, and that's how it was born. Now, ever since then, which that was over a year ago, is when it was practically born, essentially. Uh, basically, uh, we had to pretty much build it around the Godzillas. Now, here's the thing. The Godzillas at the time was a lot of fun for most people to watch, and some people enjoy it. If you enjoy it, then that's cool for you. But my only question is why don't you have taste? But so there's that. And that wasn't exactly fun to do because the thing is, there were a lot of continuity issues in the Godzillas. And because of that, there were things that we had to kind of explain, try to comprehend how to connect certain dots. It was not fun. It was not fun at all. And the thing is, later on, trying to basically build around the Godzillas, it just kept getting worse and worse. The problems that kind of lied ahead were we didn't really plan out what we wanted for the series, and it was hard to do that because we had to like plan each episode at a time instead of just plan the whole of each series basically all together. And the issue with that is basically, things aren't going to line up in terms of continuity. Even with the primes, there were so many continuity mistakes in the primes. And that's why I made my announcement the other day, actually yesterday, that I was going to plan on basically remaking it. Um, but it wasn't until my friend who is staying over at my house currently, who is a writer, basically said, he kind of gave out the idea that, hey, if you guys are facing this many problems, you should probably think about rebooting it. Now, this isn't the very first time the idea of rebooting the SCU has been thrown out there. In fact, I actually had the idea to reboot it because I was noticing that the lore was getting a little too complicated. And so I was hesitant to tell my friends about it because I knew it was going to be like, okay, we put so much effort into this one project. We've put so much time into this project, and it would all be for pretty much nothing. But keep in mind, this was after we had ended our friendship with Spino. And for me, I didn't want to have to associate with him. I didn't want to have to associate basically a project that, on a technicality, I created to be basically based on a series that was, let's be honest here, made by the pedophile. You can't, I can't put it any, like, I can't put it any better than that. A pedophile. So we, I told my friends, I was like, hey, I think we should reboot. They thought it was a bad idea. And honestly, I agreed too, because I was like, you know what? Yeah, that probably is a bad idea. Um, and later down the line, yesterday, of course, we did an SCU watch party because my friend Morrow had recently come out with the latest project in his series called Operation Universal Dip, which is part of the Ava's series. Go check that out, by the way. That is an absolutely fire production, probably the best thing in the SCU so far. Um, but it's complicated. It is very complicated. Uh, but we were basically, we were doing a whole SCU watch party and just noticed the amount of mistakes. And that's kind of when I, wanted to make my announcement like, hey, I want to redo the Prime season 1 specifically. And this kind of sucks though, because with the Prime season 2, I did tease some things and I was excited because I even had a whole setup for episode 6 to continue. But unfortunately, never really went through. Now, I should mention, and I did put this out there on my Instagram, so I guess the secret is kind of out. That's on me. Now, my project, Transformers Dark Judgment, I should actually mention this before I mention the other thing. Transformers Dark Judgment, because of the amount of ideas I have for it, there are too many ideas to fit within one film. And the movie itself would have probably ended up being 2.5 hours to maybe even 3 hours. So, what I'm going to do is the production is going to be split up into 3 separate projects. That's right, Transformers Dark Judgment is officially going to be a trilogy. Now, the films that the Dark Judgment trilogy will comprise of are Transformers Dark Judgment Search for Transport Part 1 and Part 2, and Transformers Dark Judgment Quest for the Dark Spark. Now, basically, I figured if I split these films into 3 parts, it's going to make my life a lot easier. This way, I'll be able to actually get out the main project, at least the first third of the main project out there. So this shouldn't take too long. But the thing is, filming, editing, all that kind of stuff, it takes time, and I want to be able to get this project out in some way. So I figured if I split it up into 3 stories, into 3 projects, I'll be able to kind of make my life a little bit easier. I'll be able to, I won't burn out as easily because there's a lot that's going to go into this project. So I have been working on the storyboard for part 1. And then part 2 is going to be like its own continuation. Of course, part 3 is going to be the end of it. Now, the thing that I was going to mention earlier is that the Transformers Dark Judgment project is actually a prequel film, or prequel trilogy, I should say, to the Sentient Cinematic Universe. I can't really say why that is the case. However, it is going to be a very big story. So these 3 films will be a prequel to the SCU, specifically to my series, The Primes, and to pretty much every other series. In fact, these 3 films are what's going to cause the existence of the SCU. So there's that. But that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil anything about these projects because this is ultimately, it's secret. I can't say anything. But, So, with that being said, the good thing is the other films that I did announce that I want to make, the other projects that I announced that I want to make, because I will be making my own shared multiverse timeline in the future once the SCU is practically done. And each of those projects are going to be connected to the SCU, um, but not directly, of course. But none of those projects, all those projects are still in the pipeline. They're all still planned. Rebooting the SCU is not going to affect anything whatsoever. So there's that. The only thing that the SCU, like the rebooting SCU, is going to affect is the SCU. So yeah, so that's pretty much the good news. The other good news is my friend Mara, who produces his series, The Avas. He will not be affected by this at all. In fact, The Avas is the only series that is going to be connected to the old Sentient Cinematic Universe timeline and the new SU timeline. So I guess, we're pulling a bit of a DC, but, I'm not going to compare my friend's series to The Flash because, yeah. So when it comes to that, just rebooting, I feel like this is going to be a lot better for everyone, giving each other just a fresh start. We don't have to base our series around anything whatsoever. All we got to do is just make sure that everything lines up properly. Now, in the original timeline, basically how everything went was there was the Godzillas, which was the first thing in the timeline. There was the Primes, which was the second in the timeline, and then the Avas, which was the third in the timeline. Now, the Saurians took place after episode 10 of the Godzillas. Now, the thing is this kind of complicated things just a little bit because in terms of the flow of the timeline, that was going to be a lot to handle. So, ultimately, what we are going to do from now on is that everything that happens in the SCU, the first four main series in the SCU will happen, and they will start at the exact same point in time in each universe. This is going to make our lives a lot easier because, if we had to kind of explain how time works, that was a whole roller coaster. I don't want to get into that. But we're going to make things a lot more simplistic. We're going to make the lore elements a lot more simplistic. Of course, Morrow's series is going to be a lot more, it's going to be a lot more in depth. But let's be real here, it's Evangelion. You can't really have a simple story with Evangelion. So there's that. So yeah, when it comes to pretty much everything else, everything will be at the same time, take place at the same time. We're going to basically make each episode one at a time. So I'm going to produce an episode of the Primes. That's one thing that I should also mention. I am going to be remaking the Godzillas. Because to be honest, the Sentient Cinematic Universe was built around four main genres, essentially, or four main franchises, I should say. Godzilla, Transformers, Jurassic Park, and Evangelion. Those are the four staples. Those are the four main staples of the SCU. You cannot have the SCU without those aspects. So we're going to keep them, but because of how bad the Godzillas was made by Spino, I'm going to be remaking it. My friends are going to help me, and the Godzillas, the new and improved Godzillas, will be re-uploaded to the Sentient Cinematic Universe YouTube channel, which I will put in the link in the description down below once this is fully uploaded. So I'm going to be remaking the Godzillas, and I'm going to be making the Primes as well. Now, once I produce an episode of the Primes, I'm going to produce the episode of the Godzillas. After that, Mara's going to produce an episode of the Avas, and then Dalian's going to produce an episode of the Saurians. And then we're just going to kind of go from there. But the first thing that needs to be put out of the way are the 3 Dark Judgment films, because those are very, very important to the timeline. But everything else after that is just free flow. We're going to go one at a time, and we're not going to just plan each episode one at a time. Well, we're not just going to plan one at a time before each episode. This is going to be something that we are going to plan in advance. We're not going to pull a Star Wars sequel trilogy where everything was just kind of planned simultaneously. We're going to plan it from beginning, middle, end, because that's the best way to do it. We're going to pull a George Lucas here because that's smart. But so far, we have a lot of really good ideas. We have a lot of really cool, basically concepts that we feel are going to work a lot better and a lot easier in this new SCU timeline. And yeah, we are excited to see where this is going to go. We're just really glad that we've pretty much broken free from having to build around a series that already exists. And now we're going to have full free range with whatever creativity we want to include within the new and improved SCU. Now, I should mention that there are going to be a lot of changes made, of course. The cast of the Primes is going to be a little bit different. Some characters are not going to appear in the Primes due to, well, a few things that I didn't really make sense in the Primes. The other thing is we're not going to break the fourth wall or anything like that. The tone of the SCU is going to be a lot more serious. The only thing is about that is that the Saurians is still going to keep its it's still going to keep its goofiness because let's be real here, it's talking dinosaurs. Um, but everything else, so like Evangelion, for example, or the Evas, is going to keep its more dark serious tone that it's had since episode one. And it's going, and then of course the Godzillas. That's also going to be a little bit goofy, because talking Godzilla. But it is going to have a bit of a more serious tone, and of course, the Primes is going to have a bit of a more serious tone than it originally did. Now, I did give the Primes a slightly serious tone, a slightly serious plot, but to be honest, I can do better. Things I will improve because this is a fresh start. I want to make sure that I can do this as well as humanly possible. Is that background is going to be different. I'm not going to film in my room anymore. A lot of problems that my friends have pointed out is that having my collection in the background is a bit of a distraction. Let's be real here, it is. Um, so from now on, I'm going to be filming in different areas within my house. Uh, so there's that. And uh, when it comes to background, that's what's going to be solved. When it comes to sound design, my friend Dalian is going to help me with that because he knows a lot about that. He knows what he's doing. I trust him. Special effects, Morrow is going to help me with that as well. The whole thing is we're all going to pretty much just help each other out with each project as we go because I feel like doing things one at a time and doing things all by ourselves is just going to kind of make things a little bit hard. So I feel like being there for each other when it comes to the production of each project is going to be the wisest choice. So yeah, so there's that. But when it comes to pretty much everything else, that's all that's really going on. SU has officially been rebooted. It was not an easy choice to make, but we figured that we had to break free from just the whole. We had to break free from it. Being associated with someone who has a lot of controversy around him currently is not going to be the wisest choice. And, I feel like the people who have had issues with him being associated in any form like that is not going to look good. And having to watch the Godzillas and knowing who it was made by, ooh, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So I feel like giving this a fresh start. The only thing that's going to be related to, I guess, in terms of the one we shall not speak of, is going to be the Godzillas. But we are going to take the name and we are going to rebuild the, we're going to rebuild its reputation, essentially. So there's that. But we're excited to see where this goes. We're just really glad that everything is a lot more simple now. We'll be able to basically write from beginning to end. And yeah, so anyways, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm really excited for you all to see what we have in store because this is going to be a very special passion project for all of us to make. Is it ridiculous? Yes, it is going to be very ridiculous, but it is also we are going to do our best to make sure that everything is enjoyable just for everyone to watch, that it's going to be fun for everyone to watch. And yeah, so we hope you all will enjoy this new and improved SCU. It's going to take time. Of course, things like this always take time. But, at the end, it's going to be worth it. It is very much going to be worth it. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much about it for this review, or this, not review, wow. I'm so used to saying that. That's about it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.